and let's read.
Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing another grad school video, and please bear with me. It's like almost 10 p.m. and I'm super tired. I just had like a full day of work plus an hour and a half or so of working on my thesis, so sabaw na yung lola niyo, okay? Just please take it easy on me. But I still wanted to film this video, and I actually feel like this might be the best time for me to film this video because the advantages and challenges of working a full-time job while taking my master's is just so up in my face these days, honestly. So yeah, in this video we'll be talking about a couple of tips that I just wanted to give to people who might find themselves in the same situation where studying full-time just wasn't an option. I feel like a lot of people who watch this channel might be curious also as to why I decided to keep working full-time when I was a 100% scholar at De La Salle, and the answer to that is pretty simple. I need money. Not just money for school, but just money to survive because I don't live with my parents. I live alone, or well, I live with my boyfriend, and yeah, so we needed to pay rent. And also there are other costs for schooling that aren't just the tuition fee. So for example, you have to buy books. You have to buy books. If you're going to be a creative writing major, there's so many readings. The photocopies, like even if you think that they're cheaper than the books, they still reach like around 300 pesos per photocopy of pretty much the whole book. I mean, barring a couple of chapters or so. So yeah, there's definitely a cost there. And then there's transportation. When I started my MFA journey, I was going to class face-to-face because it was pre-pandemic, and I lived in Makati and La Salle is in Taft. So that ride would cost me anywhere from like 80 pesos to around 250 pesos, depending on the mode of transportation that I opted for. So yeah, those are just some of my reasons, and if you are in the same boat or if you're still thinking about it, then maybe this information will be useful to you. So the thing is, like now as I'm slowly thinking about my other classmates and stuff, I actually feel like it is more common for people to study full-time or for people to kind of save up for their MFA and then take a break from life and then do their MFA thing. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with that. Like if you can afford that and if that's an option that's available to you, I actually feel like that would kind of be the dream, because then you can focus and like pour all of your time and energy into being creative, into thinking about like the craft aspect of things. Whereas admittedly, like I will say from my experience, a lot of grad school for me was like a lot of stress and a lot of like forcing myself to be creative, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because I guess it also kind of works up your discipline and it kind of teaches you how to be very resourceful when you're not feeling very inspired but just have some things that you really need to do. Like you really need to write a creative nonfiction essay next week, or you really need to come up with a story. So no choice, you gotta burn that midnight oil. But the thing is, burning that midnight oil doesn't always have to be intense suffering. There are ways to kind of make things easier for yourself and set yourself up for success. And that is what we are going to talk about today. Okay, so my first tip is to make use of every single moment. If you're like me and you love to procrastinate, or you're kind of OC about time where you're like, yeah, I'll just wait until 6:15 before I start studying, or I'll wait until 6:30 before I start writing, yeah, stop it. Take advantage of every minute because every minute counts. And also, I feel like writing is the kind of thing that takes time as well. So it's not like you can say, okay, well, it's 6:18 now, so I can spare like those 2 minutes. I would say just do it. Like just begin. And at this point, I feel like sometimes writing can be kind of an inertia thing where a body at rest will stay at rest. and a body in motion will stay in motion. So the more you kind of train yourself to be in that rhythm, the easier things will be for you. And also, I feel like there's less pressure on you that way to dedicate like hours and hours to writing a paper or to reading this thing. Like if you do it in smaller increments, I promise it will feel less like torture, and you'll also feel like you're not abandoning something and then coming back to it where it's super overwhelming and there's so many concepts and so many deadlines to meet and just so many things to do. My second tip is one that I think actually applies no matter what you're studying. It also worked for me when I was doing my undergrad, which was a pre-med, because I'm a jack of all trades like that. and yeah, so my next tip is just to annotate. The thing I think is really powerful about annotation isn't even that you're necessarily going to go back to those things in the future, but it's just being able to say things and understand things in your own words. I feel like whenever you do that, it just becomes easier for you to formulate arguments for essays. It becomes easier for you to delineate between what you took from the text and what are your own ideas that you're generating for the sake of this essay, or for, let's say, reference in a work of creative nonfiction, or even for reference in fiction. It keeps you also from plagiarizing and doing those small things that could get you in a lot of trouble, even if it's just an act of carelessness or like accidental negligence. Third, this is something that I think we all kind of learned in grade school or maybe even in preschool, and that is there's a time for everything. So yeah, respect your own boundaries. I'm kind of a hypocrite when I say this because this is the one that I honestly struggle with the most, where I just tend to blur things, especially when it comes to work, where I will have this tendency to let work take over everything, but you also have to protect the space that you have for your writing. So if it's writing time or if it's reading time, don't let anything touch that. And likewise, don't let your school or work stuff bleed into your work life also, because I feel like there's nothing worse than that one teammate or one office mate who's always like, I can't do my job right now because I'm taking my master's. I mean, don't be that person, you guys. Tip number 4, I would say make or create like a certain vibe for yourself when you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. And this doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. Right now what I've done is that I have 2 desks. So one desk is just for work stuff, and it's a completely different color palette from my like creative space work desk. But of course, I understand that that's something you build up to. I mean, when I started MFA, I did not even have like a laptop that worked fast. So what I would do is obviously work in the office, but then during the weekends and stuff, when I would study, I would actually go to an internet cafe. So I used to go to an internet cafe called Core on Gate because it was really comfy and they just had a great vibe. They served food too, so I could just eat there while working on my paper, and it really helped stress me. I feel like the environmental cues also help you focus and help you do what you're doing better. You don't have to do everything all at the same time. And last but not the least, this is just like the best time saver for me. Make a list of your sources even before you start writing your essays. And I promise, when it's 3 a.m. and you've just finished your paper and you're exhausted, you will make a mistake in your bibliography and your professor will give you minus points for that. Or even worse, you might miss something and they will call you out on plagiarism or something like that. So yeah, just make a list of your sources, and it's always easier to delete sources that you didn't use rather than forget sources that you should have included in your bibliography. Yeah, and I swear that's like half the stress done. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope this was helpful. Let me know what other grad school videos you guys would like to see in the future. Are there any questions that you have about taking your MFA in creative writing, particularly in the Philippine setting? Just let me know. Don't forget to give this video a like if you liked it, and yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys, bye!